Hello, this is Scott Barron, and I am thrilled that you have joined us again for the webinar series Hire Well, Fire Well, because we know that, especially in schools, it's still about who first, right? As Collins talked about in his book, Good to Great, the best organizations have a commitment to people. They have a commitment to building a remarkable organization, and their commitment to talent is what sets them apart and their success. So glad that you've joined us. You know, we at School Growth, we have the chance to work with schools all around the world, even just since January of 2015, in that 18-month period, approximately. We have worked with almost 800 schools, and we've been able to impact almost 1 million people, including students and faculty and board members, administrators, parents, and it's just exciting. It's exciting to see administrators begin to develop a mindset. It's a mindset that sees their role not just in a management role of administration, but learning how to think like designers, like school designers and entrepreneurs, and being able to apply some of the practices and the techniques, the leadership practices and techniques that have helped so many companies in other industries be successful. Why can't we use that in schools, right? We can use those same techniques to begin to differentiate our programs, to meet the needs of our students in more compelling ways, and to grow in terms of quality, grow in terms of enrollment and fundraising and the things that are a priority there at your school. And so all around the world, we've been able to impact schools, and we're glad that you're a part of this conversation here today. Of course, the motivating factor for us is a couple of things. One is that the decisions of school administrators and boards determines the future of children and communities. The schools have a tremendous impact on individuals as well as on societies and communities, and so we take seriously this role and the noble calling of school leadership. We want to make sure that we are doing the absolute best we can to build engagement. And engagement is the key factor in terms of school leadership. And you know, when we think about, you know, what's the priority, most people will talk about student engagement and parent engagement, and it turns out though that actually the best predictor of student growth, the best predictor of school growth, is actually teacher engagement, faculty engagement, right? So we need, our motivating idea is that talented, energized, engaged educators, they just change the world, right? They change the world for individual students. They change the world for parents, for communities, for everybody in the school, for teachers. I mean, who do great teachers want to work with? They want to work with great teachers, right? And so that's the exciting thing that you get to do there in your leadership, is to build a team of talented, energized, and engaged educators, so that you're able to accomplish your mission. You're able to inspire your students to accomplish even more. And you also understand that your first target market is actually your faculty, right? And it's that ability to build a high-performing, remarkable team of educators. And that includes, when we say faculty, we mean everybody in the school, right? If we can build a remarkable team, and they have, you know, they're talented, they really have that gift to fulfill their calling. And you know, there's some people who have the gift to teach, and there's some that don't necessarily have that gift. They may have the diploma, they may not have the gift. And so we are looking for people that truly are talented to fulfill that role of teacher, coach, or whatever other role is there in the school in terms of staff. You know, that they have that energy, right? They come with it every day. It doesn't fluctuate, you know, day to day or week to week. They bring it. They bring their A game, as they say. And then, of course, there is that engagement. And engagement, we mean that they are emotionally committed. They're there to make the rest of the team better. They're there for the mission. They're not just working for a paycheck. They are passionate about the mission of the school, and they understand what their impact is on seeing students grow and on accomplishing just remarkable results together. So when you look at the Hire Well, Fire Well series, in the first episode, we've talked about know your numbers, to clearly understand what is your talent quotient. And that, of course, is your ratio of high-performing faculty members to non-high-performing, because great teachers, boy, they change the world for not only teachers other teachers and students and parents, but administrators, oh boy, that's the best path to a higher quality of life and success as an administrator if you can clearly understand your talent quotient and be able to communicate that to your board and to your other stakeholders there in your community. We will have to know our competitive salaries and benefits and our key metrics as well. So, because if we understand how we're competing, you're competing for talent, and we know that that's our first responsibility as school administration is building that great team, and then we can focus on our second target market being our families, our parents, and our students. So talent alignment was the second thing we talked about, and there we're looking for. We're not just recruiting talented people, but we need them aligned with our mission, our culture, our strategies, and the position itself. And as a school leader, you'll find far more success in your ability to hire well, fire well, if you hire people who clearly and passionately are committed to your mission. They understand and also can further the culture that you're trying to create there in your school. They're committed to your strategies, whether it's how you're using different instructional strategies or facilities or engagement with the way you build relationships, whatever your strategies are. And then finally, the position. So talent alignment is critical. And then we're going to today look at talent selection. Right? And by that we mean, how do we go through this process of attracting the most number of people to apply for our positions, and then take them through a very intentional process of evaluation so that we really are choosing the best possible people to be a part of our team. So, question for you. A lot of schools will say, hey, our people are our greatest asset. Okay. So if that's true, and perhaps you have said this as a school administrator, if that's true, what evidence would you look for, right? So if I say that about my school, what would you want me to be able to produce to you to say, back it up, Scott. Show me for sure that is absolutely true, that you really have invested in your people, that you see them as an asset, and that you have done everything you can to maximize the value of that asset, right? Well, so what could you measure, right? So you might measure, the number of applicants that we would receive per position, right? You might measure the talent quotient. You might measure the amount of, or the percentage of our budget that we invest back in our teachers in terms of providing resources and our competitive positioning for in terms of salaries and benefits, in terms of their ability to go pursue new professional development opportunities, right? Because that's critical, of course, because we know that learning organizations in any field have a distinct advantage. Their ability to learn faster and more effectively than their competitors gives them a clear competitive edge. Now, this is especially true in schools, right? When you have a school that listens more intently, that is able to process information back, is able to make adjustments to both opportunities as well as competitive threats, right? Those are the schools that are achieving the highest levels of growth, especially in this environment. Because in the economic environment that we are in today, there is so much innovation happening across almost every industry that sometimes the school can become a little less relevant, right? Because everybody else is going through a faster pace of innovation and growth. Your parents, your donors, your board members, yet the school sometimes we're not at that same level of customer service, of responsiveness, and of making adjustments to maximize the value proposition that we can offer to our target market. And again, our first target market is faculty, and then it's our families and our donors and other people that might be a part of our school community. So how do we do that? How do we show that evidence? Well, the evidence that that your people are your greatest asset, right, is that you look at how much of the budget is invested back into your people. You would look at, what is the faculty culture right? If I say that about my school, that our people are our greatest asset, well, what do your people say, right? Do they feel, what's your level of engagement? What's the level of commitment of your people to your mission, to your culture, to your strategies, right? What's the quality of your people, right? So there's real evidence that you can look at. You can actually precisely measure. So this is a big part of what we do in our talent and team assessment for through school growth, is because a lot of schools are trying to figure that out. Well, how good is our team? What's our benchmarks? How do we know that we're fulfilling our responsibilities? Because we know that the biggest impact on student learning is teacher quality. There is no other decision. There is no curricular decision. There is no facilities decision. There is no other decision that you're going to make that will impact student growth than talent selection. So it kind of makes sense that we make that a higher priority as we allocate the time of our day and our week, as we allocate our budgets, that we want to spend a lot more time and effort, investment, so that we get an ROI, or return on investment, from that asset, right? That's obviously the largest part of your budget is your personnel. So, what can we do to continue to grow that? And the key measurement that we use for the talent quality is our talent quotient. You may have some other ways of doing that. Would love to hear from you if you found some ways that you use to measure the asset, the key asset that you have there on your campus, being your faculty. So love to hear from you on that. But as you're making progress, keep in mind that it's very difficult to improve unless you're measuring, right? So if you really believe that your people are your greatest asset, then begin exploring what your team could use to measure the performance of your team. And you need to have a number that you can produce really monthly at least. If you could do it weekly, that's powerful as well. But be able to make adjustments throughout the year, rather than maybe waiting until later in the year when sometimes it's too late to make adjustments, right? So we're going to be looking at what we can do as a team to further the quality of our talent and our team. So let's look at this then and explore in more detail how we do that. So we're going to look at talent selection today, and this is focused on 4 areas. And the first is recruiting. There are companies, and we ask this question quite frequently at different workshops that we're doing around the country, and the question we ask is, if other organizations were to use your hiring practices, your recruiting and your hiring and your onboarding and how you invest in your people, what kind of organization would they be? How successful would they be? If they're a business, would they still be in business, right? If any organization needs to be remarkable at talent, right, it needs to be school leaders, school administrators. And so recruiting is where we have to start, because the best organizations at talent, they spend the time on recruiting, and it's not something they do maybe a couple of months out of the year, or maybe even 6 months out of the year, like sometimes that school administrators will do. They're recruiting 24/7. They never stop recruiting. Right? And so we want to look at that is from the perspective of a school. What are the things that we can do to maximize our relationships so that we're able to have the most applicants per position when our jobs are publicized, they're posted. And that's our goal. And so, what are you averaging now? That's a good metric to know how well you are doing in terms of recruiting. Is what is your average number of applicants per position? Is that 10? Is that 2? Is that 100? That's the goal that we've seen many schools set, is 100 applicants per position. I mean, think about that. How much better would your options be when you're hiring for new positions if you had 100 applicants for each position that you posted? Now we're assuming that these are not just general applicants, but they are applicants that at least at some level do meet the qualifications of what you're looking for in the position, right? So that would be great. And believe it or not, we know of a couple of schools that average over 500 applicants per position. literally, and they're from very qualified people from all around the world, because the faculty culture that they've created, and because of how intentionally they recruit. They have well over 500 applicants per position, and of course they can be very highly selective when it comes to choosing teachers, coaches, staff members, etc. Right? So uh, paying attention to recruiting is a big deal, and of course that means that we want to be exploring, well, where can we be, where do we find those people? Well, it's important to first of all understand, who are your highest performing faculty now. This is why your talent quotient is so important. Who do you have now that is highly effective within your organization, and why are they so successful? Why are they so effective? And when you know that as a learning organization, then you can be intentional about seeking out people that are similar. You know, to figure out, what is it about those people? Where do they go to school? What do they read? What are their common traits in terms of their strengths and their talent factors, of their instincts and their personality, etc. Dig into that. Find out why the top 20% of the people there on your faculty and on your campus, who are your top 20%, and what is it about them that has enabled them to be so successful there within the context of your school. That helps you a great deal when you are going out and beginning to recruit new people, because you want to, of course, replicate that success, right? So recruiting is something you're going to find you'll be more effective at recruiting when you build relationships with those organizations that may be strong feeders for you, right? So if there's certain colleges that a lot of your most successful faculty members have studied at, well then maybe it makes sense to get to know their alumni association, so that you can post jobs there to get more people like the ones that you already have. Maybe they read certain material, certain magazines or books, or they're a part of certain organizations, right? Find out where those people are so that you can fish in that pond. If you want to catch certain types of fish, if you like fishing at all, there are certain bait that you would use, and there's certain places that you would fish to catch, and from a bass to a striper, to other types of fish. When you have that knowledge, it changes your technique. The same thing is true for you when you're trying to do recruiting for high quality faculty. Know where they are, and know what types of school cultures that they would be most attracted to, and then you can begin, again, understanding your target market of high quality faculty. You can then make adjustments in your value proposition to faculty, to prospective faculty, to make your school more attractive to them. Now, a lot of schools, especially independent schools, spend a lot of effort on recruiting students, and that's great. But how much effort is invested? This goes back to, do you really believe your people are your greatest asset? How much effort is invested into teacher recruiting? Because it makes a big difference in the intentionality there. The schools that are very strategic in their human resources, and not just in the compliance, but also in the strategic development of in recruiting and hiring, onboarding, and investing, very highly successful. Their growth patterns are significantly different when you look at the trends than schools that are only average or below average at the talent selection and building a remarkable team. So recruiting is where things start, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment in terms of the details of recruiting, as well as in hiring. So hiring is next, and so consistently hire the best candidates, right? By sticking to a rigorous and systematic process. Cannot overemphasize that enough. The organizations that are most effective at talent, and when we ask this question among educators or other organizations, typically the same companies are mentioned, from Disney to Chick-fil-A to Publix or Ritz-Carlton. There are some organizations that, Google, Apple, that clearly distinguish their ability to recruit, to develop, and to retain the highest caliber people. So, knowing that that's an important strategy for not only the growth of the organization, but for your career, right? Then learn about what do they do. One thing that we suggest doing is go visit some of those organizations, find them, the organizations that are maybe in your local community, and go learn from them what they do for talent development. You know, if you find yourself in a city where you're going for a conference or vacation or something else, and do a little research ahead of time and find that organization that really is remarkable at talent, and go learn from them. Right? Great learners are explorers, and they know how to learn both within their own organization. The best school leaders go out and they learn from other types of companies as well, and bring that back to the school. So find the sort of the key process for you in terms of what you can do to be much more effective at assessing candidates, as well as then collaborative evaluations, what we mean by that, of course, is learning how to do interviewing, to share data, and really focus on, again, data when you're going through the hiring process. We're looking for far less gut feel and much more for precision in the process of evaluating candidates. And there's some great tools for doing that. So let's talk about this hiring process for a minute. When you are going to be posting a job, and hopefully you haven't. we're currently in the early part of the school year season, and so hopefully you're not already having to post for new jobs, but anticipating the opportunities upcoming for the next season of growth. This gives you some guidelines for some things that you could do in a process to be more effective at recruiting and hiring. So the first we want to look at is posting and networking, right? So there's some great tools out there for posting jobs that will post out to multiple job boards, and also, again, for networking with the colleges and universities that you have found to produce the best graduates to fit within the context and mission and strategies of your school. Also networking, of course, with other great teachers. It seems that great teachers know great teachers, right? And so they being able to get references from your current teacher. If you have a lot of energy and engagement from your current teachers, they're more likely, right, to be able to help you find other people like them, right? Because you want those types of people who they bring that energy and that engagement, and that talent, and so and of course, great teachers want to work with great teachers also. So they're motivated to help find new people for different positions. So we're looking for the ability, being very intentional about posting the jobs, and also of networking. Some of the best hires that we've seen happen are far more from an intentional networking strategy versus just kind of going out and sending out job solicitations, whether it's for a administrator at a school or for a teacher. The networking strategy is just seems to be far more effective. Now, screening is another thing that is a great thing to use, and using some technology tools to do that. An ATS is an automated tracking system, an applicant tracking system, so that you are receiving applications not just via fax or email, but you're receiving them through a system that lets you stay organized. If you're receiving resumes of different formats, it's very difficult to go through them, because some people are really creative with their fonts and their formats, and others are not so much. And so when you standardize the way that you collect information from them, then it makes it easier for you to evaluate and also to automate some of the screening process. There's some great tools that you can use that will filter out for you people who don't have the necessary qualifications, or perhaps even some of the not only sort of the technical qualifications, but also the alignment with your mission and your culture and your strategies. And you can structure questions in a way that will get feedback from them, so that you're able to focus. If you're going to receive, for example, a lot of applicants for one position, let's say 50 or 100 applicants for a position, you want to use the technology to screen those and make sure that you can focus on the ones that are most qualified for the position. And using an applicant tracking system is a great tool to do that. There are many of these tools out on the market today. So some are new. I met with the CEO of Hireology, Hireology, recently, and they've got a very interesting tool for evaluating candidates and also understanding the management style of the hiring supervisor, so that there's strong alignment there as well in terms of just their leadership style and their preferences in terms of a working environment, etc. So very interesting tool for being able to to do the screening process and to have a way to also automate the posting processes as well. So great tools out there. If you want more information about some possible applicant tracking system tools, shoot us an email. You can send it to innovate@schoolgrowth.com. Innovate, INNOVATE, innovate@schoolgrowth.com. Or you can call us up at 855-444-7698, 855-444-7698, and we'll be glad to help you look at some different possibilities there as you're developing your talent strategy. The phone interview will be the next step. So you've done your posting, you've received applications, preferably through an applicant tracking system that's been able to screen that for you, and now we're going to the phone interview, right? So we want to be able to evaluate. And what we're looking for here, the phone interview typically is about 15 minutes. And the phone interview is validating what was some of the data points that were shared in their application or resume, being able to confirm that they worked, and if there's any gaps in the years between different jobs, why that was the case. We also want to know what sort of where they are now, and what is the motivating factor for any transitions that they're making now or have made in the past. What we're also looking for is professionalism. We want to know, how well does this person communicate on the phone? And of course, we're looking for someone who does sound professional, who is able to handle questions well. It is helpful to maybe ask a challenging question as a part of this interview. You want to see, do they react or respond to that? In other words, if they react, it's going to be maybe more defensive. If they respond to it, they're going to see it as an opportunity to explain things and to have clear understanding together. So different types of people, and so the phone interview helps to figure out how well they are able to communicate, obviously via the telephone, because in their role on your campus, it's most likely they're going to have responsibility for communicating via the phone with your families or with other folks there that are part of your school community. So knowing their phone skills will be important. So we use that phone interview to validate as well as to evaluate the initial evaluation of their professionalism. The next step that we take is then a video interview, and that can be done via a Google Hangout or Skype or GoToMeeting. There's lots of tools for doing that, or WebEx. So you got lots of options there, and many of them are free for doing a video interview. What we're looking for there is a very efficient way. This typically will last from 30 minutes to an hour. One is we want to see what are their technical skills. Can they function well on a video interview like this? Can they use the technology to communicate? And do they know how to kind of be best prepared for that conversation, right? So do they position themselves, for example, do they think ahead, and are they in a place that is quiet enough to have a conversation? Are they aware of sound and light and other issues that would affect the quality of the conversation? This is especially true if you use a lot of technology as a part of your instructional strategy, right? So that they are able to navigate and are able to use the technology appropriately. We're looking for body language, how well they're able to communicate via technology, but also how well they're able to maintain some of their own communication, body language, and also to pick up from the interviewer as well. So now we're looking at again, we're reconfirming some of the data points on the interviews. I mean, on the application, and we're also trying to confirm alignment with the mission. Because if there's no genuine, and we're looking for data points, what evidence could they provide that would confirm their alignment with your mission? You want to be, you can, as a team, you can really think about that. What could we look for? And if you want to know really, some sort of jumpstart that conversation, again, go back and look at the people on your campus that are very effective and successful, and find out why they are so aligned with your mission. And then you can start looking for similar data points, right? So using that video to confirm the alignment with the mission, as well as with your strategies. And here if you're using a strategy that again uses different types of technology, then how well are they committed to that instructional strategy? If you're using more of a classical curricular model, again, how are committed to that? Are they to that? If you have a certain worldview that's integrated with your curriculum, what is their commitment to that? So that's what we want to be able to assess as a part of that video interview. Because if there's not strong alignment for your mission, culture, strategies, and the position, then there's no reason to go further in the interviewing process, right? So we're always filtering, we're screening to make sure that we're using the time wisely. You could move into about 15 minutes of that video interview, and if you find that, wow, this is not a good fit, right? Well, then that's okay. Then at that point we can stop and we can say, hey, we've had some good conversation, but this is probably not the best fit. And so to honor your time and to honor our time, let's go ahead and agree that we're going to kind of end things at this point, and we'll, really hope that you're able to find the right position for you, and we'll keep looking for the right person for this position. It's okay to do that because you do want to respect their time and your time, and then you also want to go back and figure out, okay, what did we miss in the screening process and in the phone interviews that we can not allow someone to make it this far in the process where there's clearly not alignment. Now, if you do have alignment, of course, with the phone interview and the video interview, they handle themselves well, professionalism, they've got all the right pieces. Now we're ready to move into the actual on-site interviews, right? So now we're going to be able to bring them onto our campus, and we're going to begin talking about, okay, so let's really dig into you. And remember that past behaviors are the best predictor of future results. The way that they have behaved and performed and achieved in the past is the most reliable predictor of what they're going to do if they come onto your campus. That's why, of course, if you think about any organization that's really strong at talent selection, whether that's in business or in sports or in music, you look at what they've done previously, and you don't just kind of ask them the question. You dig into what have they done previously, how successful were they, and how likely are they to be successful in light of our goals and our organization. A very powerful part of this process. So tandem interviewing is what we're going to recommend, and this comes from Dr. Brad Smart's book, Top Grading. And in Top Grading, it gives you some specific techniques for having two people doing the interviews together, and that's a very deep conversation. If you want to, you can pick up the book, or we'd be glad to kind of coach you through some strategies to implement for tandem interviewing. Most people overestimate their effectiveness when it comes to interviewing. Most people, almost everybody, overestimates their interviewing skills. And what we're encouraging you to do is, again, to develop an intentional process to not fall into the trap of what's called the confirmation bias, where you see somebody and they just, there's a great chemistry and it just seems to connect well, and you just feel it in your gut. That's the person, right? Well, the probability of hiring the right person using that strategy, if you look at the research that's available, it's less than 20%. And your kids can't afford that. We need you, and your children who are trusting you and the parents who are trusting you need you to be more precise in your talent selection than that. Now, tandem interviewing is a proven technique for getting past some of those biases and really digging into the data. What does it tell you? What is it, not what the person's telling you, what does the data tell you from their background, from their results, from their teaching techniques? If they're a teacher, why wouldn't you have them teach, right? I mean, can you imagine, your local professional football team being able to signing a quarterback up that they've never seen, they've never watched them actually play, and even watched hundreds and thousands of hours of film? They would never do that. Well, if it's great for the quarterback, it's even better for the teacher. It's even better for the coach. It's even better for every faculty member in your school, that you're precise in how you dig in and understand who are they, and can understand how they're going to complement and enable your mission, culture, strategies, and can be remarkable at performing this position. It sounds like this is going to be a lot of work for you, and it's like, wow, you got other things that you have to do too. You're right. This is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work for any organization to go through and get the talent right. But there is no decision that you're going to make that is more important than the selection of the teachers and the coaches and the staff that are working on your payroll, because they're the ones who are interacting day to day with the children on your campus. And that's what the parents in your school, that's why they chose you, is because they believed that you could provide a high quality adult influence in their lives that would make a tremendous difference and help them be successful, right? So we want to encourage you to be intentional about thinking about, how do we do that? How do we make sure that we're doing the absolute best we can to engage with our faculty and create a remarkable team? When you use a tandem interviewing, generally you have one person that's asking questions and is taking, another person's taking notes, and they're very precise questions. They're not random questions, and they are more focused on what we call behavioral questions. They want to know, and you can kind of do a little research on this yourself, but you're looking at how would they behave and respond in certain situations, and then they're more open-ended as well. Using sort of brain teaser questions or other cute questions, those just aren't as effective, and maybe something that you kind of get a kick out of. But in terms of being able to hire great people, that's not how you do it. So we want to encourage you to begin thinking differently in your human resources strategy, so that you're able to hire that fantastic team and help them then come together, build a culture around them to help them be remarkably effective. So you've gone through the interviewing process. You've found a couple of candidates, or one that they're the one. I mean, they fit well. The chemistry's there. The data's there. This person could be a great complement to our team. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, let's think about this for a second. The next thing we want to try to focus on is, how do we dig deeper? How do we get to know them at a level that we understand more about that past behavior? And so we use what are called two-level reference checks. And this means that we're digging into what their background. Usually they provided some references for us as a part of their application, and that's great. But we're going to go deeper. We're not going to just accept their references that they've given us. We're going to call them, and then we're going to ask them for specific data points. What is it? What is it that you most respected about their leadership? What if you had some advice to give to them, and you could be their supervisor, what would you do if you were hiring a teacher to teach your children? How likely are you to hire this person to teach them? Right? There's some very clear ways to find out the confidence level that their references have in them. And then you want to ask their references, so I really want to get to know this person even more. Who would you recommend if I wanted to clearly understand, because I have a responsibility for our school and building a great team, who should I talk to also that would give me greater insight into this person? And they'll give you a name, and you can ask them for an introduction, or you can get the email address and phone number, and then follow up. It's a powerful way to get to know the people that you're considering for your team, is to dig into those interviews. Sometimes reference checking, sometimes it doesn't get done as well. It's something that, yeah, I know we're supposed to do it. It's more, we think of it more as compliance, right? It's kind of a check the box thing. Well, in actuality, this is a powerful part of the selection process. When you are intentional about interviews, you're going to be far more effective at hiring. And again, if you can use the first and second level reference checks, it will be more useful for you and give you more data to make the best decision. Finally, we're looking at assessments. There are assessments that you can use to help you determine, what is this person like, and how do I know that there's strong alignment. And the best leadership, the leaders understand that there is no well-rounded person. There's only well-rounded teams. Regardless of how talented you are, you don't have all the strengths. You are not God's gift to mankind. You are a part of a bigger picture. And because of your humility and because of your commitment in school leadership, you understand that your goal is to build a team of people who can work well together. They've got complementary pieces, and we can learn from each other. We can learn with each other. We can challenge and build up each other. That's what high-performing teams, that's what they do, right? And so we can use assessments of strengths. We can use assessments for natural instincts and how they take action, or what's called their cognitive skills and instincts. We can measure their values. And the value alignment is really important. There's some great material on and tools for measuring values and beliefs. And this is, we're not talking about theological beliefs here. We're talking about what they really believe about leadership, about education, about themselves, etc. And it's a powerful way to seek alignment. There's ways of measuring, different types of intelligence: emotional intelligence, mental intelligences, etc. Practical intelligence. Well, that's the kind of person and the kind of data that you want to be able to use in the hiring process. And some of this is very easy to go and conduct personality assessments as well, to understand how they work and to know how that would be a good fit. This is not about what's right or wrong. It's finding what's the best fit together. Right? If you have an environment where you want a lot of collaboration, there are some personality types that are strongly wired towards collaboration, and quite frankly, there's some that are not. And so knowing that will help you be predictive about how successful this person can be on your campus and with your students. And so your faculty culture, always, when you're hiring, you have to remember that you increase your talent quotient in years, because it takes time to invest in people and to grow them and to get them to a high-performing level. You decrease your talent quotient in days. It takes one person, that one person who I thought they were going to be amazing, but oh my God, what happened? That was, that person that I interviewed a few months ago, that's not the person that I just went into their classroom. What? I don't get it, right? Well, we want to improve. We're always learning. We want to be experts at talent. And that means committing ourselves to be real learners in the art and the science of more science and art of developing this remarkable team and being intentional about creating a talented, high-performing faculty across the campus. And using assessments is a great way to do that, to figure out where do we fit together, and does this person really complement our goals now going forward. So there's some great ways for you to build this remarkable team. You know, the great thing is you can do it. There's a workshop that we offer called the Optimized Talent and Team. We've taken a lot of the research and put it into what usually can be done in one day, depending on the size of your school. There have been some larger schools where it's taken even 2 days, but through this process, you're able to develop your talent quotient, to understand what that is, and actually have a number to then build off of, to be able to create then a talent performance rubric together, something that is really simple and provides a way for common language and communication. Because faculty engagement increases so much when you have clearly defined expectations, and it's easily communicated together. You have clarity. And that's a great way to improve the performance of your faculty. And then we identify with you a 90-day plan to improve that talent quotient. Again, because talented, energized, engaged educators, boy, they change the world. The full scope of the training and services that are available through School Growth include what we do with talent and team. Some schools they're trying to figure out some enrollment challenges. How do we improve what we're doing with enrollment, how we engage our faculty and our families in that process, and how can we learn from the families in our target market to be able to improve what we offer. For others, they're looking for more strategic growth. They're trying to figure out strategic planning as well as innovation or tactical planning. They're looking for advanced campus safety and security measures, and how to optimize their overall school design. And still others are trying to figure out, sometimes it's their school board. They're looking for an optimized board that has the skills necessary for appropriate governance. They may do that through a board retreat, or on some board, knowing how to engage their board more effectively and build relationship, and maybe use some leadership coaching for their administration and their board. So, and then finally, some folks we start off with looking at their communication strategies. Obviously, communication is a key part of your success as a leader, especially in schools. And so we do teach our Laws of the Grapevine online. That's available on schoolgrowth.com, and then strategies for social media, as well as an integrated communication plan. So this kind of gives you a feel for this is how we do what we do at School Growth to create those talented, energized, and engaged teams. If you want to know more about what's happening with School Growth, you can visit the website, of course, schoolgrowth.com. Our blog has a lot of free information and stories there about schools that have been achieving great success, and love to be able to add your school story there as well. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, as well as LinkedIn, and you can give us a call. Love to talk with you as well. Our team's available to answer questions that you have about strategies to grow there on your campus. So please feel free to get in touch with us and let our team be a part of your strategies to grow. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, that strategy of hire well, fire well. Building a remarkable team is what great school leaders do, and I hope that you can use some of these strategies to improve your talent selection process. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to talking to you soon.